What's up, guys? Time for a quick base tour. It's March 2026. This is our wipe on a vanilla server. I wanted to show off the base a little bit. Built in a cave base this wipe and built all the usual compound stuff to go with it. Um, Fully compounded in the cave. We've got a couple of gatehouses and these outside gatehouse fob things that we built. Um, they're pretty sweet in terms of raid defense. We had 3 raid attempts against the cave, and all of them failed. Um, yep, we'll come back to that. Just have a quick look here. This is the updated design for the farm base. 3 stories, 30 planters, external TC, pump house, and turrets. This design will work in the snow, and it will also work in the desert or the temperate biomes. That's because we now have 2 windmills, which is enough to power 2 batteries. So we can have power for heaters, turrets, pumps, everything. Also managed to change the layout of it and get the chicken coops into the corner. This wouldn't normally work, and it doesn't work in that corner and that corner, and it's all based on the direction the sun takes. So that coop gets sun in the evening and that one gets in the morning, which is enough to keep the chickens healthy and producing eggs. This is very similar to the other layouts and the other farm bases I've shown in the past. We've got box storage. TC is down here on the second floor. Behind the window. Very nice. And then ground floor is also very similar. I find that sort of this size of farm is pretty much optimal when it comes to crossbreeding, because I can rapidly plant 90 of each type of clone or each seed, and then collect a box of clones before doing the crossbreeding, and basically select the optimal clones and then in a single breeding cycle get to the triple G triple Y. So yeah, upkeep is not too bad on that, but it's pretty good for teas. This is our garage. This was like the first outside base we built. We actually built it specifically to look noob. It's not very strong or anything, but it was really useful during raid attempts because it acts as a flank base. We've got kits in here, beds, respawns, all that jazz. I think we did confuse the raiders a little bit because they looked at this and they couldn't figure out where everything was, and you've got like random armored walls in the wrong place. The reality is actually it's not very expensive at all to raid. Then finally, for outside buildings, we've also got the furnace base. This is very similar to the usual furnace base I build. Again, slight variations. We've got more power. 2 windmills. I wanted to keep the windmills low. So just use 2 windmills. And yeah, I mean, it's not the strongest, but it's strong enough. Got a nice peak here. So if someone is door raiding or whatever, then you can see out. Then inside we've got essentially just a shitload of electric furnaces. This was because we've got wood furnaces down in the cave, and so it makes sense to have electric furnaces. These are all hooked up with circuit conditions, so the furnaces are off while there's no material in the system, and as soon as you put anything in here that can be cooked, sulfur, metal, high qual, honey, then it will turn on the furnaces and pipe them through. Because of the 32 furnace limit in a single industrial conveyor chain, it had to be split up using a splitter and a combiner into 2 sections of furnaces. TC's back here. Let's see if we can take a quick look at upkeep. I don't think there's anything in here. No, I can't open that. Anyway, so yeah, that's pretty good. And then finally we've got our gatehouses. These gatehouses are also really nice. after the first raid defense, we had no compound, no gatehouses, nothing. They tried to build a raid base literally where this gatehouse is and use it to control the cave entrance, which they did very successfully. But because we had an outside flank base and we actually had boom in the outside flank, we were able to use that to take back or to actually raid back their raid base. We got some pretty nice peaks here with the ramps, very nice. Good vision out. The window here is not on the other ones, but this is also to stop people standing above the door and looking in. And same thing, peaks. So we got good coverage and vision there. And then we've got a whole bunch of respawns here, along with a bunch of other junk. Upkeep on these is really not too bad at all. Armored roof, and the idea of this is also that there should be no peaks in towards the cave. And the reason for that is that if they take control of this, we don't want them to be able to, the raiders to be able to use this as like a fob or as something that they can use to control the cave entrance. It needs to basically occupy space, and even if they have TC access, they shouldn't be able to use this. And one of the main ways that we were able to achieve that is actually ironically with the low walls, because we found in the second raid attempt they basically rocked up with a few rows of high qual, and they were fully ready to build a massive high qual raid base outside the entrance. But when they realized that there's actually low walls on top here, it griefs these walls. So even if they take over this building, we're right on the edge of the build zone, and it means that effectively they would need to build, either next to or separately outside of this, because there's no way to actually attach anything in here anymore. I could maybe put one wall there, but a raid base with one wall is not very effective at all. We've got the same thing going on the other side with the, this has been broken by heli, but we have the double chain link in most places. And yeah, we didn't really finish this. Like, there was supposed to be SAM sites and maybe a few more turrets and external TCs, barricades all the way around, but basically we only responded to raid threats, as the server quietens down. There's only bigger groups left on the server, and they come and raid, and when they come and raid, then we would reinforce the compound more and more. And yep, we started out building in this cave, and this is one of the new caves, or newish, and there was actually already a decaying base in here, and basically I just took over the footprint of what had been already built. It was mostly only foundations left, and I was able to use it to build something a little bit different from my normal cave. Normally I would block this side off, but we, as a quality of life thing, essentially added an entrance to both sides so that we don't have to kill to get into the god cave. And yeah, it's quite nice. We've got our oil refinery here, access, turrets. It's not particularly strong, this cave, but it was more just about livability. And here's upkeep, 150, 260, 2600, and yep, the rocket machine, some proprietary technology there, and everything in the cave is designed to be able to be turned on and off. So if we want to turn the furnace control off, we can turn that off. Then this side is the rocket machine and med crafter, and we've got our oil refinery, and there's the meds. The whole system is wired up with seismics. We obviously got Lank shotgun traps just to hold the entrance while the turrets are off, and we've got a single battery here that is recharged above and then swapped out when it goes flat. System is all connected to seismics, so if anyone starts raiding, as you can see, everything just turns on. I think this is probably one of my favorite guns, close range now. The Hamlager with a muzzle boost, laser hollow, and insane ammo. This thing absolutely melts anyone that comes near it. And yeah, and then we got this whole sort of downstairs area. Got a few furnaces sneaking back there. We completed a number of good raids, and eventually we were actually able to counter raid the guys that raided us. That's where like this crazy tech trash came from. You can see the rocket machine is hard at work. We had almost 3 boxes of sulfur we got from them, and I think they basically just gave up after not being able to raid us. This section on the cave is effectively just for resources, and these are all wired up to the rocket machine and the furnaces, so we can just bring materials in here, turn the furnaces on, add wood, it makes gunpowder, mixes explosives, and then finally crafts the rockets. So this side is basically just slightly stronger loot storage. We've also got a bunch of additional loot back here. Yeah, nothing really particularly special. This is one of my favorite features of this cave. We've got the quadruple locker snuck in the back here, which is really nice. Just for more kits and respawns, able to sneak in basically every deployable you could imagine. There's also 2 secret loot boxes back there behind the oil refinery. And then of course we've got a little upstairs area with a bunch of random junk in it that we don't really need, but it's stored here anyway. And then yeah, we did have a full team, but this is just my personal bedroom here with some loot. And yeah, this was a really fun wipe. It was on a vanilla server, bi-weekly vanilla server, and it was very different, rather than concentrating on making the cave itself strong, which would have been my normal gig, 45, 60 rocket cave. Instead, we just concentrated on online defendability and having control of the access to the area and the cave. Additionally, every single building that you see has its own raid alarm, which was actually been really helpful because it means that we can easily see and diagnose sort of any raid attempts, or if it's someone just trolling, by figuring out which buildings are alerting where. Circuits for this kind of stuff is really not difficult. You got 2 solar panels, a small battery, and your turret. Yeah, and it was a very good wipe. So anyway, so that just concludes the base tour, and hope you enjoy. Hope it gives you some ideas about things that you can do, whether it's controlling the outside, making your turrets more defendable, farm, garage, furnaces. But yeah, cool. Cheers.